Welcome back to another episode of Comic Book Flashback. I'm Marvel Cross 316, and we are looking at X-Men issue number 101. This issue came out in October of 1976, and as we look on the cover today, we have the birth of the Phoenix. It's Jean Grey right here, and it looks like we have a new appearance here with the Phoenix. So we're going to go dive right into this storyline and see exactly what's been going on as we pick up from last issue with the cliffhanger from last issue with the X-Men returning home, but they are going through a solar storm. And Jean Grey is the only person to help save the X-Men and get them home. So we're going to look at all this today. But before we get started, go ahead and give this video a like and subscribe if you have not. And let's go ahead and get started. But before we get started, we got to give credit where credit is due. And so we have Chris Claremont doing the authoring here. We have Dave Cockrum, he's the artist. We have Frank Cherrymont doing the inking. We have Jay Costanza on the lettering. We have Wilford as the colorist, and Archie Goodwin doing the editing. So let's go ahead and pick up from last issue with the storyline. Remember that the X-Men are going through this solar storm. How are they going to get home? Well, we got Jean Grey here, and it says right here she's in the last moments of her life. What's that all about? Uh-oh, is Jean Grey going to die here? So let's go ahead and see. Well, it looks like she gets the plane back to America. I mean, miraculously, but it's not going to land safely. As we see, she is going to make a big crash landing with this plane. I mean, they are lucky enough to get through the storm, but once again, we see that the X-Men are being safe here. The rest of the X-Men, they are in the radiation, in a way, a storm cellar, in a way. But Jean Grey is the only one that's being exposed to this solar storm. And so as we see a big crash landing as they land right into the ocean here, and Star Core Eagle 1 is down in the ocean. It just sinks. And that could be the end right there, but we see that Cyclops resurfaces right here as well as the rest of the X-Men here, but Jean Grey has not resurfaced yet. And so we have Cyclops very concerned about this. All of a sudden, from the ocean, we see a bunch of bubbles pop up here, and then, boom, we have a new Jean Grey, the Phoenix. Now, what is this all about? Look at this. She says, "Hear me, X-Men, no longer am I the woman you knew. I am fire and life incarnate. Now and forever, I am Phoenix." So there we go, right there, y'all. The very first appearance of the Phoenix. But then she faints in air. She plummets into the waters here. And so now, a lifeless body. Well, she's not dead, but she is rushed to the hospital here where she's going to be looked on. Will she survive? We're going to find all this out. Professor Xavier advises the rest of the X-Men to get into their civilian identity clothes so that the attention won't be drawn to themselves. And once again, there is another incident right here at Kennedy Airport with that plane. This is the second time that the X-Men have crashed, and had an impact here on Kennedy Airport. Last time was in issue number 97. And so now the X-Men here are going to be checking up on Jean Grey. Something very interesting here we see, remember from last issue how Jean Grey had yelled at Wolverine? Well, this time it looks like Wolverine is starting to have a little bit of feelings towards Jean Grey. So what does he do? He buys Jean Grey flowers. And so this is very uncharacteristic of Wolverine. And so he's going to show that he cares about her by giving her flowers. But upon arriving to the room, he notices that Jean Grey's friends, all the X-Men are there. They're waiting to hear from the doctors about her condition. He throws away the flowers right here. And even Moira McTaggart's telling Professor Xavier, can't you do anything? Use your telepathic powers. But Professor Xavier again says, I can't do it because I keep being cursed by that dream. As we know that Professor Xavier has been haunted by a dream lately, and it just seems to not be going away. And so all the X-Men are so concerned, and one X-Men in particular that is very concerned is Cyclops. We know, and if you know anything about the X-Men known as Cyclops here has a very deep relationship with Jean Grey. And he's like, you know what? All this time I thought being with the X-Men, that's what life is all about. But no, Jean is my life. And so if Jean doesn't make it through, I don't know what I'm going to do. All of a sudden, Cyclops is startled here as we see that Dr. McKay comes and he gives the news that Jean Grey is going to pull through. And I mean, what a celebration we see right here. Everybody's so relieved. I mean, awesome stuff here. And Cyclops, he hears the news too. He doesn't celebrate like the others. Instead, he just starts to cry. And he's like, thank God, Jean Grey, you're going to pull through. I don't know what I can do without you. And so now Professor Xavier is going to break the news that he wants the X-Men to go on a vacation and that Professor Xavier and Scott Summers are going to stay behind at the hospital to look after Jean Grey. Wolverine is not having it. He's like, nuh-uh, stick it in your ear, bub, because none of us are going anywhere till Jeannie's better. But we see Professor Xavier here. He said, just control yourself, Wolverine, for once. Just think. So he unsheathes his claws here, puts them back into place. And then we see that Sean Cassidy here, he's going to basically suggest that they go to Ireland because we learn here that, Sean Cassidy, who is the Banshee, has an ancestral home in Ireland, and they could stay there for maybe a week or two. So Professor looks at it and he's like, you know what? I think that's a great idea. And so that's where the X-Men are going to be going right here. They're going to be taking a travel overseas to Ireland to basically the homeland of Sean Cassidy. Now remember from maybe 2 issues ago, we knew that Black Tom Cassidy has a big threat. He's been looking for Sean Cassidy. So we'll see if he plays in detail in this issue as Sean Cassidy drives on this dirt road, very bumpy dirt road to be honest, and they arrive at this magnificent castle that's been standing there for thousands of years. This is where Banshee grew up, and he's so excited to show the other X-Men where he has lived as a boy. And of course, like I said, Black Tom Cassidy had a big threat. He is the cousin to the Banshee. And here we go. It looks like Black Tom Cassidy has the X-Men under surveillance, and he's going to use this guy who is basically going to greet the X-Men. He's working with Black Tom Cassidy, but he doesn't have any choice as Black Tom Cassidy is holding this guy's family hostage. And so that's just not good. This guy named right here, Mr. O'Donnell, his family is being held hostage here by Black Tom Cassidy. At first, we see O'Donnell, he rejects. He doesn't want to hurt the X-Men, but Black Tom Cassidy allows him to understand that he could eliminate his family at any point. And so this is what O'Donnell is going to be forced to do. He's going to have to let the X-Men into this castle, knowing that Black Tom Cassidy is basically planning and setting up the destruction of the X-Men. So the X-Men, they all go into their quarters here. They're going to just relax here. Storm here, she feels like she wants to go back to Kenya, and so she gives herself a shower by controlling the elements and allows it to rain. And everybody's getting ready for dinner here, as O'Donnell said that dinner will be served at 8. And we see that Nightcrawler here is going to escort Storm downstairs for the dinner. But of course, we see that Colossus also wants to escort. So both men are going to escort Storm here. And we see right here that Banshee here is starting to wonder, why was O'Donnell acting strange around me? Why was he acting strange when I mentioned his family? All of a sudden, as they are walking downstairs, there's a trap door underneath them. They fall through the trap door. they instantly change back to their X-Men costumes, as they have this ability here to basically the stabilizing molecules in their outfits can change back to their costumes, and lo and behold, they are met with Black Tom Cassidy and a very familiar figure here, that is the Juggernaut. And so the Juggernaut and Black Tom Cassidy seem to be working together here, and Black Tom Cassidy tells Sean Cassidy, who is the Banshee, that the X-Men are in grave danger here. And then Storm starts to freak out. She starts to freak out because Black Tom Cassidy basically says that they're going to be entombed in the castle forever. And we know that Storm hates to be in, walled up places. She doesn't like to be held hostage. She does not like to be in enclosed spaces. So she starts to freak out. So what the heck is going to happen next issue, as we see the title is Who Shall Stop the Juggernaut? We had the X-Men versus the Juggernaut and Black Tom Cassidy. The X-Men just seem to never get away from danger, even when they are on a vacation. So what's all going to happen next issue as we look at the Juggernaut? I hope to see you next time as we look at issue number 102, and keep reading comics, y'all.